All right. I'm not joking about this press thing with those mistaken reporting. Since Trump has been elected, it's getting almost impossible to know what stories are real. I'm so worried about coming on here and just saying this whole thing about something that happened yesterday and it didn't happen at all. John Nolte, the great Noltenator, is writing. His job now is just recording the mistakes, that the press makes. I used to think Nolte was an honorable guy, but the fact that he's taking money for that, I mean, that's got to be the easiest job in America. Here's what I'm wondering about, okay? I'm wondering if this domination, it's a complete domination of the news media by the Democrats. It obviously creates this empire of lies for us all, and we're bombarded by these lies constantly. But now with Trump, nobody's listening to them anymore. And I'm wondering if what it is really doing is creating this alternative, dishonest, illusory universe for the Democrats so they can't tell what's going on. I mean, they may actually be hurting themselves by creating this atmosphere of falsehood that they themselves believe. Back in one of the reasons I became an outspoken conservative, which was not that good for me, and it made it very hard for me to work in Hollywood, where I was working quite a lot. But, they started to make these movies while our troops were in the field attacking the war on terror. So they would make films like Redaction and Lions for Lambs and other. I think there were like a dozen. Green Zone. In all of these films, America was the bad guy, and all of the films bombed, and they would bomb one after another. And the reason I started writing about it was I just thought it was wrong to make films against the war while the soldiers were actually being shot at. They didn't do that during the Vietnam War. All those famous anti-Vietnam War films were made after the war was over. While these films are coming out, and they're bombing, but they keep making them. It doesn't matter, making them one after another after another. Variety, and the New York Times echoed this, I think. Variety wrote a piece saying, gee, Americans just aren't interested in the war on terror. They're just not interested in seeing movies about this. And I was like, do they really believe that? Because, of course, then American Sniper came out, which was about the fact that Americans were heroes in the war on terror, and it was one of the top-rated R-rated films ever made. I think it's number 5 on the list of box office hits of R-rated films. I thought, wow, these guys are so embedded in their own world that they think that them attacking America as the bad guys in a war against these medieval madmen, they think that people just aren't interested in the war. This happened just a few months ago. I had an idea for a Bible story, and I was talking to one of my agents, and he said, oh, they don't make Bible stories anymore. And I said, well, why not? Mel Gibson spent like 25 mil or something, and he made $1 billion on. Well, I said, they fail. Look at the Noah picture and Gods and Kings, the one about Moses. And I said, well, when they made Gods and Kings, Christian Bale went on Nightline and said Moses was like a terrorist. To the Egyptian empire, Moses was a terrorist, kind of comparing Moses to the Islamic terrorists who were attacking America. And when they made Noah, which was, for those of you who've never read the Bible, Noah is the world is destroyed because of sin. But in the movie, it's destroyed because we're not environmental enough. So, of course, the people who like the Bible, who believe in the Bible and who love God and want to see these movies don't show up. And then Hollywood says to themselves, well, they don't like these movies. So they're living in this complete illusory universe. So watching the news yesterday, this is what brought this to my mind. I started to think like maybe the Democrats are so wrapped up in the media that they don't understand what the rest of us are seeing. Everybody between New York and L.A. And I'm starting to suspect that there are people in New York and L.A. who are seeing the same thing. So